I remember like it was yesterday. I was driving from Oakland, California to Phelan, California. 6 hours. And I remember the closer I got to home, I started thinking about our ducks. Not just ducks. They're amazing, but duck poop. The reason I was thinking about duck poop is because I have a mentorship program. I support young folks, particularly young Black men that are fighting for life. They're targeted by oppression. And oftentimes, our organization is the last stop from prison or from death. So even in that context, we try and see them and hold them. And this particular mentee was amazing, highly talented, but he hated cleaning duck pens. And I got closer to home and I pulled up to the house, and before I even go inside, I just parked the car, a micro little farm, and I walk in the back and 25 ducks, and nope, not clean. And I just walk in the house as if I just arrived. And I walk in and I say, hey, did you clean the duck pen? Yeah, I cleaned it. Playing video games. So nah, I checked, you didn't clean it. All of a sudden anger started rising. Oh, I'm just gonna do it right now. I don't need you to clean it right now. We need to talk. I don't want to talk to you. I understand, but if you go out right now, you can feed them or clean them. But if you talk to me for 5 minutes, you'll never clean a duck pen again in your life. And I went and sat down. And he just like froze at the back door, just kind of sat there for a second. And eventually he walks over and sits down. And that 5-minute conversation turned into an hour. And we talked about how we can de-escalate conflict and see each other and use better words. But there's one particular question that changed everything for both of us. I remember asking him, I said, in the last 12 months, have you received 3 minutes of thoughtful, platonic touch? He looked at me and he sat there and he thought for a moment. And he said, I can't think of 3 minutes in the last 12 months. And my body started to realize the magnitude of what he has been holding. I said, how far back can we go? He went back 5 years. He said, in the last 5 years, I can't think of 3 minutes of thoughtful, platonic touch. And I thought to myself, this is real. I said, keep going back. He went back 15 years. In those 15 years, he talked about his grandfather playing horsey, and he just telling me the story. I could see his shoulders soften. I could see his face kind of like almost have a smile coming over. I could tell by just remembering. You would never guess that we were almost to blows 45 minutes before that moment. And I looked at him and I realized in my mind that we were part of a similar legacy. That I was just 3 years in at that time of reclaiming my tender touch, thoughtful touch, platonic touch, and what that meant for my body and my positionality in the United States. And I sat there with him and I asked him when we were finishing up, and I said, are you open to a hug? He said, no, I'm good. No, don't hug me, that makes sense. I said, can we at least talk about it? He said, yeah, we can talk about it. And I left that conversation, and I remember sitting down to write just to kind of process that conversation. And I remember I wrote the words, chronically undertouched. It's across the top of the pages. Chronically undertouched. It wasn't casual. It was chronic at this point, 15 years. And how me and him shared this legacy, and it wasn't an accident. And then went to Google. I just went in and typed in a couple of like phrases. I was like, tender touch for Black men. Crickets. Google gave me crickets. Nothing. It's like, what? This is weird. Typed in a couple things, like thoughtful platonic touch for Black men. Nothing. I'm like, I was participating in an ungoogleable act. Being human is the touch. Ungoogleable. Ungoogleable. And then my heart started to break a bit. And I realized I need to do some research. I need to look and see how chronic is this? And every time I saw a simple image of black men being human, it was like an article. Look what happened. This is amazing. What's going on? This is like, they're being close. Again and again. Tragedy. They're just being close to being human. It's like drinking a cup of water. It's like eating, being close and tender. And I realized that 15 years wasn't rare. I realized that we were up against a big project. And I thought to myself, I talked to him for a couple of weeks, and maybe in a month we'll be past this situation. 5 months goes by. Every day, we were still not sure how to solve this problem. Not sure how to reach. We were experimenting. I was looking around. Resources were limited. But I discovered one specific thing. It's called 3 we figured out in a year and a half. But one of the first we figured out was to create a comprehensive touch plan, listening. Listening had to be in place. And I think about that. I think about 15 years of having no touch. What 15 minutes of touch can do for your body. 15 minutes. And so as I started to listen, I realized this tool was a basic tool, but one I had to practice. And we were practicing for 5 months. So I started to build a listening program. We realized that we were creating a nest, a tender nest, that said, I hear you. You can be vulnerable, you can be wrong, you can be upset. And because you talk to me, you won't have to worry about cleaning the duck pen. That won't be a part of it. But this is a safe place for you. I want to listen to you. I want to practice us listen to each other. It's an important piece. Took us about 5 months. And I remember as we got to the second thing that I found to be really important, we were earth building. This is the clay ball here. I ran out here because I find myself, always want to remind myself how life-saving this clay is. This clay has been used for thousands of years to build shelter. And we were using that practice of building a super adobe structure. And we use a combination of cob, and a combination of cob is clay and sand and mixed together. It's an amazing brick. This is hard, like a rock almost. It's like rock. It's like a solid piece. And a building made out of that could last 600 years. We're out there building this amazing structure, and it's like 100 degrees. It's the high desert. And we don't have any music playing. And almost just to help the time pass, I just started singing a little bit. Hold on, just a little while longer, won't you hold on? Just a little while longer, won't you hold on? Just a little while longer, everything is gonna be all right. He started beatboxing. He was like, I was like, snap, this is huge. This is not a small thing. We started jamming. It wasn't about performing. It was hot. We were just working, but we were just being together. And I realized, this is a big deal. This is a big deal. Singing. I mean, not as a performer. I mean, just as a human. Singing. We found our second practice. Singing and creating music together and connection with the earth. Natural building ovens and walls. We just got our hands in the earth. I was like, there's progress here. The nest is being formed. And almost to the day, I was going back to Oakland for a workshop, and I said, I want you to clean that and take care of that and move that over there. You don't worry about cleaning that thing because you're off for that for as long as you're here. And we're heading out. He just kind of looks at me casually, like, have a hug. In my mind, I was like, right in my mind. But on the outside, I was like, I can't react that way because it's going to ruin 12 months of work. And so I just came over and got a side hug. Have you ever got a side hug? I got a side hug. It was the most important side hug I have received in my life at that moment. And I walked out casual and got in the car, and my hands were shaking. 12 months for our first hug. And I realized that moment that this was not casual work. This was serious, patient, thoughtful work that I was endeavoring here, interrupting the chronically undertouched trauma story, the ungoogleable act that I was participating in for 12 months. I got ambitious. After a year, I thought, let's get a support group together. Let's get a support group together of 5 young Black men. We're going to sit down and we're going to build a comprehensive touch plan for all of us. We're doing pretty good. We're like 5 months in. We're seeing twice the speed, a collective community. It's amazing things happening. And one of them fell into a deep depression. And I remember being invited to his house. He had been in there all day, just door closed. And I came in and I sat down next to his bed. He's laying there. And the room was cluttered and dark. And I just said, no, I'm here. We miss you. How are you doing? We sang a little bit. Hold on, just a little while longer. And I was about to leave. And I said, can I hold your hand for 3 minutes? And he sat there and he's like, yeah, I'm open to that. I get my cell phone out. I put a little timer on 3 minutes and I hold his hand. We didn't say much. I just let him know, hey, this is a human activity. We're just being close to each other. No, I see you. I hear you. Beep, 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 beep. Beeper goes off. It's 3 minutes up. I get up and I walk out of the room. I have no idea what's about to happen next, but about 10 minutes after that conversation, I receive a text. Simply says, you holding my hand saved my life today. We have found our third practice. Our third practice is holding. Snuggling, hugging is a life-saving act. Holding, snuggling, hugging is a life-saving act. It's not casual. It's not on a side here. This is an essential part of being human, especially for those that you can't even Google. And that is not just one action, it's 100 actions. It's the singing, it's the connection, it's saying it's okay to actually sit and hold someone's hand and hear them is a life-saving act. Touch says a lot of things. One thing it says is, you're human. And I see you. I can hear you. And I sit here and I think about what it takes to survive, what it takes to build a community around this idea of interrupting the chronically undertouched trauma story. We've been gathering touch activists from the East Coast to the West. I remember gathering some of my mentees together, and I grabbed this clay ball. Now, hey, why you always got clay balls, man? You got these like clay balls, you're holding them, and they're plastic. Hold it for a second. We started sitting for a second. I said, hold this. I said, when we die, we don't turn to our cell phones. We turn to this. They're like, ha, 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 huh. This? Yeah, Earth. This is us. This is not a casual thing that we're building with. I want you to have access to touch. I want you to have access to platonic touch that says you are human, that says I can see you, I can hear you. You can be vulnerable. And for me, I sit here, and my desire is that when folks Google this again, that it becomes Googleable. It's just normal. So I want to thank you all for being a part of this conversation and making the Chronically UnderTouched story Googleable, reachable. Let's get at it. Thank you all so much.